Good.
We good, Rob? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. January already, 2024. What happened? I'd like to welcome all of you here to the regular board meeting of January 16th, 2024. I will call the meeting to order. And with this, if you are able to stand, I would like you to for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Supervisor Kowal.
Here.
Treasurer Roman.
Here.
Clerk Noble here. Trustee Smith.
Here.
Trustee Ruggles.
Here.
Trustee Powell.
Here.
Trustee Voorhees.
Present.
Very good. I'd like to make to amend the agenda. I have a presentation. I'd like to add a 7D.
So moved, Mr. Supervisor.
I have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. Next item is public comment. Now, what I would like to do for the public, because we actually have public here tonight. So many times you can see just nothing but chair tops. So we appreciate you being here. If the item of which you may want to comment on is on the agenda, you will have an opportunity at that time to discuss that matter as part of a dialogue. That's how this board likes to interact with the public. If your item is not on the agenda, you can come up and have 3 minutes, identify yourself to the recorder, and state your case. So anyone at this time that wants to come up that is not, an item that is not on the agenda, come forward. You'll have to identify yourself for the recorder.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Pawlikowski. I reside at 419 Oxbow Court, White Lake, Michigan, 48386. This is my neighbor, Rick Scheich. Want to make it really quick. A neighbor built a home at 314 Lakeside Drive. He removed the storm drain. He built a driveway that's 2 inches higher than the road, too wide, and he never got a permit for the driveway. My house has flooded. I can no longer feel safe at my property. This man has been allowed to get away with it for 9 years. My neighbor called when he first removed the storm drain. And I think, Mr. Colwell, about a month ago, I was up to see you in your office, and I saw your secretary, but I never got a return phone call about my house flooded. I spent about $30,000 repairing my damage. My insurance has tripled, and this is an injustice to me that pays taxpayers' money, and I want to have a safe environment to live and enjoy my property. I love where I live, but now I cannot live safely. I'm asking for some assistance here. I've got documentation for both Oakland Road and White Lake that he was supposed to do this. He has a temporary occupancy, which I guess lasts forever. I've never seen anyone have a temporary occupancy that can live in a house, flood the neighbors, and be driving out of that neighborhood feeling good about himself. I've got letters and I've got documentation. Unfortunately, people think it's easy civil litigation. It takes about 2 years. In the meantime, I can't sell my home, and I wouldn't do that to the next person like my neighbor is doing to me. If an 80-year-old person bought my home, how could I live with my heart and soul knowing that I would flood them and cause them $30,000 worth of damage? And also, I live on a septic system. I didn't buy a farm. When our properties flood, before it gets to the house, it's disgusting. My neighbors have to smell. Our septic systems come to the surface because it's tens of hundreds of thousands of gallons of water.
What was your address?
419 Oxbow Court.
I am 367 Oxbow Court.
What is it?
I am 367 Oxbow Court, Richard Scheich. I spoke to you and you've been out to my property in the past.
Yes, you have. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else at this time? Seeing none, I'm moving on to consent agenda. Consent agenda for the audience is a list of revenue expenses, check disbursement, bills, and department reports throughout the township. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Looking for support?
Support.
I have motion, I have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you.
Gotta add D.
Item 7. Minutes from the special board meeting of November 28th, the special board meeting of December 19th, and the regular board meeting of December 19th. Any questions or comments from the board members? Seeing none, looking for a motion?
Mr. Supervisor?
Yes.
I move to approve the minutes for the board meeting on November 28th, December 19th, special meeting, and the regular board meeting on December 19th, as corrected by the clerk's office before this meeting.
Very good. Okay. Motion, support, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 7D, presentation. Chief Holland, will you come forward, please?
You look surprised.
What I do now, right?
Chief, I want to tell you that I'm very grateful for the service you have provided White Lake Township for how many years now? Coming up on 39. 39 years. So I'm thrilled to announce that Chief Holland has been awarded the prestigious Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce United Restoration Disaster Service First Responder of the Year Award. This well-deserved recognition is a testament to Chief Holland's exceptional dedication and service to White Lake community. The award is presented to outstanding community first responders who exemplifies professionalism and takes extraordinary measures in the line of duty. Chief Holland has demonstrated these qualities consistently over an impressive 38-plus years, 39, and will continue to do so with his unwavering commitment. White Lake Township is incredibly fortunate to have Chief John Holland as a part of our community. His long-standing contributions and dedication make him an invaluable asset to our town. I would like to give him a hearty thank you and congratulations for the service that you've done and the award you are to receive. And I'm hoping that we can keep working together continually to get into the new public safety building. John, congratulations.
Thank you.
I would like to commend John Holland, our chief, fire chief, and Dan Keller, our police chief, for the amount of effort and time that they have put into assisting the township board. And Aaron, which is our contractor here, or general contractor, in developing the new public safety building. It is an asset that this community is long overdue. We've had a myriad of problems with the number of buildings that we have. I won't get into that dissertation right now, but their cooperation is helping us move forward in that direction. So they are, we have a very good public safety team here. Thank you again, John. Okay. Next item, request to approve bid for vegetation clearing for new civic center development. Mr. Potter, are you going to lead on that? No, Aaron, I'm sorry, Aaron. Wrong Aaron. Okay.
Good evening. Thanks for having me tonight. So we're here to present the bid package number 1, award recommendation for the tree clearing at the new Civic Center development. So just a little bit of background on this. So as you're aware, the project is currently in design phase. This first component is primarily to fell trees prior to a bat migration, which Michigan experiences, which is kind of interesting. So any trees that are cut down in the state need to be done so during an off-season of migration, of bat migration. So right now, trees need to be cut and felled by March 31st. So in preparation for the upcoming grading and site work that's going to take place at the new Civic Center development site, we created an early bid package to allow these trees to come down in advance. And there's roughly 80 trees that are going to be coming down. A lot of scrub trees, a lot of dead trees, in fact. there are some really nice trees that have been tagged that the project team will be harvesting, which is kind of interesting. We're gonna cut the trees, cut them into 9-foot sections, trees that are deemed to be of good hardwood quality wood. Harvest those, bring those up to kind of where the old house was demolished, and stage those in preparation for milling them later this summer and into the fall, with hopes that we can reuse some of this lumber and wood inside the library, or excuse me, inside the new township hall and the new public safety building. It's a great sustainable way to reuse the wood off-site, and a good token to the community. So we're excited about that. So having said that, we had a really great bid package number 1 release. We had a total of seven bidders, ranging from the low bids. The low bid was $14,750. The high bid was $149,080. The project team conducted very thorough post-bid interviews, which review the qualified contractor's scope of work, manpower requirements, contract document requirements, insurance requirements, et cetera, to make sure they're the right fit for the project. So after the post-bid, it was concluded, and McCarthy and Smith is recommending contract award to Cordis Brothers Trucking and Excavating in the amount of $13,750. You will see that there's a voluntary alternate, which means it's a suggestion from bidding contractors on a way to save you, the owners of the project, dollars. Their suggestion was to remove GPR locating. GPR locating is in short for ground penetrating radar. That was a specified requirement in the bidding documents, that the contractor performs ground penetrating radar prior to cutting of the trees. This is an old farm field. We will not find any buried utilities that are within this at this point in time. So we're very confident on that. So we are we're proposing to accept that voluntary alternate to save $1,000 on the project. Thus, the total recommendation of $13,750. This cost will go into the total GMP, guaranteed maximum price, of the project once the balance of the project is bid out.
Very good. Any questions from the board at this time?
It might not be a question for right now, but it may be. You said there'll be trees tagged to mill, but are there trees tagged to save?
Correct. So there will be trees tagged that we're cutting. Really, the ones we're cutting are the ones that are tagged. The ones that are not tagged will not be cut. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
It's a finite area. It's not an expansive area.
Correct.
It is where, for those of you who may not know, the building, the Township Hall is going to be built into the hill that's there. So it'll have a walkout site, so to speak, for cost efficiencies, energy efficiencies. We'll utilize that lower level, and an order off that lower level will be the community center. The Dublin Center will ultimately be moving in there. So that will allow for some parking for persons who will be using that center to be at the same grade level as that. So that's one of the processes that we've done. We have strived through our planning to save as many trees as possible through this plan and through the Stanley Park renovation that will be taking place. Accessibility is going. As a matter of fact, we actually walked the original proposed road route down there and actually made some field changes, and we saved about 26 or 27 fairly mature trees. So we are acutely aware of it, and I'm an old woodworker, so trees to me are extremely important. They're a sustainable use, and Aaron made the suggestion, and I definitely was on board with that we could have some yielding lumber to use in some different trim packages throughout the building. Add a little cost, plus it's a little interesting twist to it, and we're actually using the material versus chipping it and sending it down the road. So any questions or comments from the board? Looking for a motion. Mr. Roman?
I'll motion to approve the bid for vegetation clearing from Cordis Brothers Trucking and Excavating, Inc. for a total not to exceed $13,750.
I have a motion, looking for support.
Support.
I have support from Mr. Noble. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. Okay. Request to approve furniture supplier for new Civic Center buildings. Yes, unfortunately, when you get a new building, you have to get some furniture. And if any of you have spent some time in the Township Hall and/or any of the associated offices, you will see that we have a patchwork quilt that's what I would call it, a patchwork quilt of whatever have you, and have made do with it for many, many years. I mentioned I was a woodworker. Well, years and years ago, my introduction to the township was because I was the guy walking down the hallway and they said, hey, can you build this counter? Can you build this desk? I built Mr. Roman's desk.
Yes.
And a variety of other things throughout the township. So there's always been this, let's make do with what we have, but now we're looking at going to a vendor that'll get us some streamlined equipment, cost-effective. Obviously, we'll go through the bidding process ultimately when the time comes. The reason we're talking about this now is it's a request of the architects to have this information so that they can define the furniture plan on the blueprint, and therefore indicate where telecommunications and electrical apparatus need to be throughout the building. So that's why, if you're wondering, why is this being done at this point? It's for planning in this project. And I'm going to turn this over to Tricia Pergament, my deputy, as she has some information for the board.
I know you all probably looked through this. I'll go through it a little bit just since we have the public here. We were tasked with going to visit 3 of the furniture companies that were selected by the architect and see what they have to offer. We set up a cross-functional team from the departments here within the township. We did this before Christmas. We went to see American Interiors, which they have a variety, each company has a variety of furniture suppliers, but they have, their main company is Miller Knoll for American Interiors, and ISCG is Howarth Furniture, and MBS Steelcase. So we did that, and then we were determining how do we decide without cost who we're going to work with on this project. So the summary of our selection process was we conducted the visits. We met after the visits, the team, to discuss our impressions of each company. All the companies were capable and obviously capable. But the one that we felt stood out was MBS Steelcase due to the overall comprehensiveness of their presentation, what we saw when we went into their showroom from start to finish of the process, including their installing team was there. All 3 of the companies have governmental contracts, which allows the township to engage them without a formal bid process. Omni and or My Deal, which is Michigan Deal. So we said, how do we make this selection, the team? So we decided to go back, call references, gather feedback, and ask some additional questions. The feedback was positive for all 3. One of them had a very negative comment. So with that comment, and it was due mainly to their installation processes, they, one of the, I'm not going to name which one, but the city that used them said that they just did not finish the install. They kept having trouble. They kept saying they were going to be there at a certain time, then they wouldn't be there, then they would show up on a weekend when nobody was there. And so they finally hired an installer to finish it. So we decided that we didn't feel like that was something that we wanted to chance. So we ended up with then looking at, from there, the comments. And the comments on MBS Steelcase, a few of them were outright glowing. One of the the lieutenant from Troy PD said he felt like he was doing an infomercial. He was so ecstatic with them. And Lyon Township, Patricia Carson, she was the same. They said that they had minor imperfections on furniture. They took it away before they even had a chance to notice it and brought them new furniture throughout the install process. And so from that, the team decided that they would recommend that we work with MBS Steelcase for our furniture. Since we are not in a position right now to know, what everything is going to cost, it's, the way that they said that, they all have the Omni deal, so that the more that we buy, the more we're going to be able to negotiate even beyond that cost savings of the Omni deal. And so that is the team's recommendation.
For the benefit of the public, there are several manufacturers of different products. It could be anything from paper clips to office furniture and everything else in between. There are pre-qualified through governmental contract requirements for particular pricing. So their communities are guaranteed a certain pricing for that type of goods. It would be far better than out in the general public. And this is what these particular companies, as well as other companies that we will be dealing with throughout this entire process, they'll generally be either my deal or qualifying county contractors or suppliers.
And our library worked with MBS too, and they were happy with them.
Okay, good to know. I did not know that. Okay. Questions or comments from the board? Andrea?
I reached out to one of the committee team members, as Tricia referred to them as, and they, exactly, Tricia, glowing. I tried to divert them to go back to talk about the other community or the other businesses, and they just kept going back to MBS. So absolutely, yeah, glowing. It was glowing. So yeah, I love the recommendation. I'm in full support of their recommendation.
Any other comments? Trustee Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So I was a part of when the library chose that company, and it was a very successful experience. My only question is, when they went to look, they were given more samples and ideas of what can be provided. And when I went through your presentation, I didn't see that.
We're not picking furniture right now. I mean, so.
I know we're not there yet, but did they give you any?
They had their whole showroom. They had, one of the things we liked about it was that they have a whole area where you go in and touch the fabric and see what you're actually looking at. So it looked, that's something that we would do obviously later through the process. The one thing that's to note is that every one of these companies has a similar style of furniture regardless of who manufactures it. So we saw similar setups everywhere. And so that kind of then eliminated what is it going to look like, because we know they all can do similar things. So we were left, we're not picking that right now. We know what we liked. We know some of the things.
Opportunity to see some of it.
Yeah, we know some of the things that we liked. Yeah, the team saw stuff they liked, but they all can do it. So then we said, okay, well, what else then? What can we base this on? And without having much more than that, we looked at, really felt that MBS having such a long relationship with their installation team and a successful one, that would be an important factor, obviously, when we're trying to get into the building. You don't want any delays, to hold you up. So not saying that the one company had that, but the one company did. But just that their presentation was more comprehensive. They let us visualize that a little bit better when we went to go see them. And then that coupled with their references just kind of sealed our recommendation.
For the benefit of the public, we put together a team here at the township, my colleagues and myself, the in-house colleagues in particular, put together a team of the department heads from all of the different departments of service the township. We had one individual come forth, and they acted as their representative from their department. And these are the users of this product. It's real simple for us to sit there and say, here, just do something generic. But simple things like and I'll bring this up, for example, the new developments and designs they have is a locker pod right next to their desk so that, individuals that come into work that might have a purse or a pair of shoes, they have a place to actually store them right at their desk versus things being kind of scattered about the township. And it actually makes more efficiencies. As a matter of fact, through one of the redesigns, we were able to save some space and actually save some costs because there was a consideration for metal lockers. And since the survey was done, that everyone felt more comfortable with their purse next to their desk. So, of which I understand that, okay? I'm married, I know, I have a wife. So, and I can appreciate that. So there are little things like that, but there are ergonomics and some of the stuff. Tricia and her team did a great job and are bringing forth this recommendation to the board.
And obviously, there's a lot more to come.
Oh, yeah.
Once Stu and Redstone start working with them, and that's when we really get into what is it going to look like, what color is it going to be, what fabrics. I know personally, I used to live in Lyon Township, and I went into there and I saw their remodel, and I thought they did a nice job. They didn't have a new building, but they remodeled, and I thought they did a nice use of keeping it professional, but adding some interesting patterns and things like that with their chairs, and it was, very nice, so we don't have to just do all gray, everything, or, one flat monotone color. And,
Navajo white?
yeah, no, we're not doing that color,
Okay.
Rick. We've had that.
Color in my office.
We've had this
She hates
discussion.
it. So it goes with everything. Okay.
So,
All right.
Do you have any comments?
Any comments, Stu? You're comfortable with this particular vendor?
I am.
Okay, very good. We have an endorsement. We have that.
Stu,
Look-
have you
look-
worked with this vendor before?
Yes.
Okay.
Worked with the other ones too, so.
Okay, looking for a motion.
I just want to first thank Trish for coordinating and moving that team forward as quickly as you did. Wasn't easy. And with that, I'll make a motion to use NBS Steelcase for furniture and any other needs that we see fit.
I have a motion, looking for support.
Support.
I have support from Andrea Voorhees, down at the end. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Tricia. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For the benefit of the firemen that have entered, this evening's meeting started at 6:30, and we have recognized the chief. So if you want to give him a hearty handshake, and I appreciate you guys coming in. They may have been out on a call. That's what our first responders do. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, next item on the agenda is item 8C, Resolution 24001, tentatively declaring its intention to establish a special assessment district to be known as the Round Lake Southwest Sewer Main. I can't read that, sorry. This is an area that has been of high failure in septic systems, and when systems are replaced, they are prohibitively expensive. I'll give you a little inside information for which many of you may not know. On November 15th, and I remember that because it's Deer Day, opening day, I think it was 2017, Oakland County changed their standards on septic fields throughout the county. Before, when you put a septic field in, you were allowed to have a minimum, I think it was like 15 or 18 inches of water, I think, to the bottom of the field. Now you have to have, I think, 48 inches of clearance from that. So what that means is if you have a piece of land that you can go out with a shovel or a post hole digger and dig a hole in your yard, and about a foot to foot and a half down, the top of your septic field, when it's done, will be about here from ground level. So you will look like you have an Egyptian burial mound in your yard. That is a new standard that they have set. They've also set specialized standards in certain circumstances where lots don't have the actual amount of square footage required, of which they are now requiring pre-treatment facilities, which is actually a miniature sewer system that actually has telemetry and chemical compounds of some sort that are injected into your system as an enzyme to help break that particular system down. I have a very good friend of mine who had to put one in Rose Township, and the cost was prohibitive because her lot size was so small. So there are a lot of issues in that area, and I am going to defer to Mr. Potter at the moment. If there's anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Potter?
Nope, actually, I'm going to defer to Mr.
Okay.
Heber.
Yeah, before you tonight is Resolution 2401. It's the intention resolution, which would be the first resolution in the process for a special assessment. It's a petition-based special assessment where property owners came into Aaron's department and the assessing department and were requesting a special assessment petition for the sewer main. Working with Aaron and with DLZ, we came up with, can you go to the map, just go through this? Sure. I put a couple of maps in your attachments. This is a map that DLZ provided that shows where the sewer lines are proposed to be, the parcels that would benefit from the sewer. The petition was created. The preliminary costs were obtained from DLZ. We worked through the township's bonding attorney for bonding cost and the appropriate bonding fees to issue the debt for this. It prepared the petition. Your memo says that there's 57% of the property owners approved that. That was correct at the time I wrote the memo. We sent a letter out to the residents, and I had another property owner come in and meet with us, or me, and it was the owner of the Mamma Mia site, and that owner signed the petition as well. So we had one person combine their parcels. They didn't want two REUs, so it's 100 parcels. 58% are yes from the owners. Around 94% of the land mass has approved this as well. And it's also important to note that this would include the old Mamma Mia site at 2 REUs and the Ivory Farms parcel at 2 REUs. So 2 units of benefits for those parcels. And again, this is not a public hearing, but because it's petition-based, we felt sending a letter to the residents advising them of this meeting and that you're going to consider this resolution tonight, which would start that process. We told them about the meeting, invited them in, and I imagine most of the people here are here on this issue. So I guess that's the high level of where we are. Turn it back over to you, Rick, at the board.
30,000-foot view. One moment, there's something there for you to review. At any rate, so what was the land mass coverage?
94%.
94%.
58% of the landowners signed the petition to doesn't mean that 42 didn't. Maybe they're neutral or unaware of it.
Right. Okay. Questions or comments from the board?
I just want to make it very clear because many of these residents might be concerned about this tonight and have questions to ask. This discussion tonight is just a discussion amongst the board as to whether or not this project meets the requirements and the intent to establish a special assessment district. So we'll be discussing it, and we'll be listening to you and getting feedback as to whether or not this even meets the requirements for a special assessment district. If we vote ahead for tonight, that just means that we think that it's worth pursuing. That's all it really means. The next step is a public hearing in which we send out a formal request to all the residents involved, and that's the one where we would vote to establish the special assessment district. That means just the boundaries of where the properties would benefit from the special assessment district. That's all it means. It just means the boundaries would be established. After that, there's another special hearing, public hearing, in which we go through each and every property and decide how much each and every property might owe their percentage share of the installation of the sewer. So we have a lot of process that we have to go through before this is even a valid special assessment district, or before we even know how much we're going to be charging each and every property owner. So you're going to get 3 times to be able to give us input on this before this board says, yes, we're going to go ahead, or no, we're not going to go ahead. Most of you probably don't know me. We're going to open the public hearing, so you'll be able to come up and talk from your viewpoint. My occupation as a civil engineer, I design engineered septic systems, and what the supervisor pointed out is exactly right. In those areas that are marginally acceptable to septic fields, the health department doesn't care how much it costs. I usually tell my clients, and they're sitting there in my office, and it might be a lady that's raised a family of 12 in this house, and she's all by herself now, and the health department doesn't really care because they're looking in the future. And I tell my clients, listen, the health department is looking to save Mother Earth one septic field at a time, and they don't look at the bigger picture. That's our job here, to hopefully look at the bigger picture and provide for a different means of taking care of sewage in an area that may be very troubling and environmentally sensitive. So thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I just thought that might answer a lot of questions they might have.
Thank you. It's one of the advantages of having Mr. Powell on staff, is because he designs septic systems, and if anybody knows about you-know-what, it would be him.
Knows about crap. Yeah, that's me.
So there are a lot of questions I'm sure you have, but as Mr. Powell stated, this is a long process. This board could say yes tonight. It's just to explore it, to get the information, to be able to come to you and say, hey, it's going to cost X dollars to put this pipe in front of your house. Your septic system might be working fine today, and if it is, great. That pipe in front of your house is an insurance policy, because one day, especially in that particular area, it's going to fail. And when it does fail, you're going to have an option to tie into the system at a lesser cost at the end of the day. In most probability, it's difficult to say because each system and each lot has its own peculiarities, which is why perk tests are done and things of that nature. There's a long process for any of you who are not familiar with it. Just because you have a system that is here today does not mean it's going to function for the next 30 years. You may have put it in 5, 6, 7 years ago. If that's the case, then if this main goes into front of your house, you have an insurance policy for yourself and whomever you decide in the future, at someday if you decide to will the house to your children or you sell the house off, it makes that asset worth, excuse me, a little bit more. It also does the other thing, excuse me, and what most people don't really know. If you have a house that has, I'll just pull a number, 2 bedrooms and is maybe, 1,300 to 1,500 square feet, it has that one closet that they call a bedroom, okay? When that line goes in, all of a sudden, your land use requirements have changed drastically. You have the ability now, because you don't have to keep land on reserve on your property for a septic field, to add to that house. Even if you don't go out, you now have the ability to go up. This all changes the dynamics of your property and your ability to make your home more comfortable, should you desire to do that, or should you desire to sell your home and move to sunny Florida or Carolinas or somewhere, that house will have more resale value because that piece of pipe is in front of your house. That is shown time and time. Talk to any realtor and they will tell you that is a fact. That is not any smoke and mirrors from the township. That's a reality. I was a contractor for many, many years, and I can tell you that anything that had water and sewer was automatically worth more money, okay?
Rick?
Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Roman.
so as you were explaining some of these ramifications of the sewer line going in, so assuming that this happens and we put this sewer main in for all of you, Rick mentioned that if your system fails after that line is in, you would have an option. You really don't have an option at that point. If your sewer system, your private septic system fails once this main is in, you're required by ordinance to hook up to that new sewer main, okay?
And by state law.
And by state law. Should be cheaper than putting in a new septic field anyway.
Will be.
And just so that you all know, financially, as far as paying for hooking up to the sewer, if you do need to do that once that main is in, we have a program to where we'll actually loan you the money, and I think you can pay it back over 10 years. So we do have something in place to help with the financial burden.
Yeah, a few years back, this board saw the wisdom in having a emergency SAD available for sewer hookups for individuals that may have a problem. But obviously, you need to have the sewer in front of your house in order to hook up to it. If you come to the township and say, hey, my septic field is gone, they're telling me, Mr. Powell, what's a number for an engineered system, average?
Average is about $40,000 now
Okay.
for a single-family home.
Okay, telemetry system?
Another 10 on top of that.
So between $40,000 and $50,000, if you come to us, we don't have a program available for you, okay? So this is, it may be burdensome to some, but your fee will be spread over a period, if this was all to come to fruition over, how many years?
15 years.
Over 15 years. So it makes it more palatable. Now, that is the first. The first SAD is when the sewer goes in. You pay for the fee of the pipe to be installed. The next is in the event that your system fails, you have to pay for a grinder pump, which is called an emaciator pump.
Glorified disposal.
Yes, thank you. I didn't know how else to put it. It grinds everything up and shoots it into the sewer system. That is based on per home requirements, per site conditions. That can average, Mr. Potter?
18 to 25.
$18,000 to $25,000. So you're still way ahead of that $40,000 mark. Now that's $40,000 to $50,000 today. That's not what it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years from now. So you have an opportunity to make this work for you. And again, I understand it is a financial, I don't want to say burden, but it's definitely going to be taxing for some people. But on the other hand, it will make your property more usable and therefore more desirable. So at this time, I am going to ask that anyone who would like to speak will have to come to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes. That's all you're going to get because those are the rules. And we'll be happy to hear what your concerns are, and we'll take this in. We may not necessarily interact with you and give you the answers, but we will try to at least take in what you're going to say, because Mr. Powell is going to take copious notes. Yes, sir.
Can I just ask one 10-second question?
You need to come to the podium. You need to come to the podium because
I'm sorry.
The folks on TV can't hear you from that position. And you want your Cecil B. DeMille moment,
Okay.
okay?
You have to
my
start with your
name's
name and
An-
address. Perfect.
My name's Andrew Palmer. My wife's Daisy Palmer.
Can we get your address?
Address is 9534 Round Lake Boulevard. I just want to ask a 10-second question, not count my 3 minutes in yet. I need verification of the 10-year loan process of the hook-in. Is it true that it has to be deemed failure of a septic? Meaning if your septic was still operating and you wanted to hook into that line, do you still qualify for the 10-year program?
No, it has to be, the system has to be in failure. But if you're not in failure, you don't need to hook up.
True, but I wanted to make sure that was noted to the public, that it has to be.
Good question.
It has to be deemed.
Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
And it's deemed by the health department, like the
Correct.
Oakland County Sanitarian. Okay.
Hi, I live at 9625 Caprice.
What's your name, sir?
William Page. This is like a site condo development. I mean, White Lake Township is not going to fix a road sign. They're not going to remove a tree. Certain streets have their own private associations, which we do. I mean, anything that comes through, I mean, we're an association. We would have to approve it. I mean, we really, truly would. These aren't county roads. They're all private. This is like going through an apartment complex. And I mean, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, is White Lake Township, I mean, since this is like site condo development, can they just come through there with a sewer, with a special assessment? Is the attorney here today?
I don't even know how to answer that question because you're not a site condo development.
Yeah, we are. White Lake Township, if a tree falls down, you're not gonna come out and replace it. You're not gonna put a stop sign up on our street. We are a site condo. We have a private association, it's ours, and we are. I mean, anything that comes through our roads that we maintain, we have to approve. We have to. You're not gonna take care of it for us.
I'm not sure I understand the question either, but I will say.
But
this.
I'm saying that anything that happens on our streets, we need to approve.
Yeah,
You
so-
guys can approve it.
so
They're not
majority-
county roads, they're not county roads, they're all private.
Yeah, so a majority of the parcels that were put into this proposed district,
I understand that, but there are other different parcels. There's, to our little makeup of our neighborhood back there, if you look at like how it's all platted, different things, it's all different. It's a private neighborhood. You're not going down M59, you're not going down it's all private. I mean, it is. It's our neighborhood. We maintain it.
Yeah,
We do
just-
everything.
just
We would
add
have
on to
to,
this
we
that,
would have to approve anything. You get your estimates, we would need ours too. I mean, honestly, it's private. It's not White Lake Township's anything to do with it. You're not gonna remove a tree, you're not gonna fix a stop sign, you're not gonna do anything with it. I mean, you're not gonna.
so there's a list of parcels that we can.
I understand you got your list of parcels, but it's a list of parcels in a private neighborhood. It's not a list of parcels that Oakland County maintains. It's not. It's not.
I can maybe address some of this.
Sure, Powell address this for you.
No, I was
And
just
you're-
wondering.
And you're correct. If you have a site condominium, the roads could be public or they could be private. However, in defining those ingress egress easements or those private roads, the master deed and bylaws typically allow for not only the ingress and egress of the residents to use that road and the responsibility to maintain that road, but it also gives all the utilities the rights to go in that road right of way.
They
as well.
do, in the right of way.
So that being said,
But-
this would be a utility owned by White Lake Township within the easement set up in your master deed and bylaws. If the sewer failed, White Lake has to fix it, not you guys. White Lake fixes all the grinder pumps, all the sewer lines and everything else. You guys do not have any part of repairing those things. But we would have to put them in a legitimate easement, and I believe that road right-of-way would be deemed a legitimate easement for that utility.
I agree, as long as it goes in the easement. I mean, it's a private neighborhood. I mean, it really truly is.
Yep.
And with that, with like damages, something could happen. I mean, listen to this poor lady here about her, I mean, heart wrenching. So it's our neighborhood. We have to approve it. Even though you're going in the easement, it's private. We need to approve it. Our association on Caprice, Midway, we maintain the roads, we do it. We want to approve it. It's private. That's the bottom line. You can look at it, we'll look at it. We have to approve it. It has nothing to do, it's going in our easement, and we need to approve it too. And that's contractors too. If you want to have a contractor do the work, we want to look at the bid. We're not just going to throw it out to Cortez Excavating, which they do a lot of work for a lot of districts, which I heard that earlier. We would want other estimates from other companies
I deal with this daily.
because it's private. It's
So
ours.
your association,
Or
your association needs to touch base with the township because that will
It's-
all have to come about in the process for installing the sewer. So we can't debate this now, but just come in and the township will help
happy
you.
to talk to you about it. Yeah. Anyone else at this time?
I think we should have some clarity.
Name is Patricia Smith, 1283 Grove Point Drive, White Lake Township. Question, and looking at the map, that's the first time I've seen that map. I was asked to sign the petition, wasn't allowed to look at it, wasn't allowed to take a photo of it, was asked to sign. That's the first I'm seeing of where the line's gonna go. My question is, the Mamma Mia property is a whole commercial, I don't know, they said there'd be a map here of, I don't see it anywhere, of the zoning. Mamma Mia's is a huge commercial property that's part of this, right?
They would be because
Part
the
of this.
sewer would laterally run down.
Down the
Blue Lake
road. So how much am I paying? I think I'm a what is it called, REU, and Mamma Mia's 2. So the statement on the petition said $1,245. So I'm gonna pay that per year, 15 years plus interest. They're gonna pay two 1245s for that huge commercial property, because I know it's the same thing about Ivory's, right? Is that the way it works?
No.
No, okay. Then my next question then, before you go on, because maybe this will morph into that. Ivory Farms owns all the length of Midway, plus they own both sides of 2/3 of Grove Point Drive. They're also on this petition, it says here 110 acres. Same thing. How much are they paying versus what I'm gonna pay, and you're gonna pay, and you're gonna pay, and you're gonna pay? Okay, so that's second question. Number 3, potentially Mamma Mia's has a big sign, sewers available. Somebody told me that, I hadn't really noticed it. I didn't think they were available yet, but sounds like we're funding it maybe. Ivory's is a huge tract of land, could one day be not farmland, but be subdivided. How does all that affect us paying down our little private roads, the sewers coming down, and this morphing into being subdivided or commercial land being built, and what they're gonna pay? So explain to me how they pay versus us.
Sewer fees are based on REU, okay? So the amount of an REU that's ultimately going to be put on a piece of property. For example, I think there are 1 or 2 REUs on,
Ivory, they said was 2,
yeah, which would mean
I'm 1,
based on
Ivory's
that,
2.
based on that number, they could only build 2 houses there. That's it, okay? So if they wanted to do any more, they would have to pay additional fees, and they would have to pay for an expansion of the sewer system, because the sewer system as it is not going to service that property. It's within proximity of that property. It doesn't directly service it. Mamma Mia is on the south side of the road.
Right,
Same thing
commercially
again.
zoned, right?
Could be commercial, could be mixed use.
On your property map, and the township says it's
I
commercial.
believe you are correct. I believe it's commercial because it used to be a restaurant there. There's some really odd zoning in that particular area because there's several little businesses there, the grocery store, the restaurant, the gas station. You go a little further north, you got the old IGA site. There's some peculiar
Things in there,
oddities
correct?
there that are sins of the great-great-great-grandfathers, okay?
My dad.
Yeah,
Mike, Aaron is prepared to answer that.
okay.
Hi, I'm Aaron
Aaron.
Potter, the DPS Director.
Okay,
So just to answer one of the questions, about the REUs. You're correct. Ivory Farms and the Mamma Mia's property are both, I believe, commercial. I think our Ivory Farms is zoned agricultural.
Yes, correct.
So the issue on one of the peculiarities of not only this SAD, but a lot of SADs, where you've got residential homes adjacent to commercial properties, is that we can't block them in the design for your neighborhood. So in order to get a pipe, say you maybe need a 5-inch pipe, that's not going to supply their development. The township is not going to landlock them and make it impossible for them to build sewer. On the flip side, you need their land mass to make your SAD work, because without it, you have to cross all of that commercial property to get to your neighborhood from where the current end of the pipe is on Round Lake and Cooley Lake Road. So it exists now on the corner. To bring it over to your even the nearest street in your neighborhood, you need to go 890 feet.
Which is what roads?
Cooley Lake Road. So
are
it
the
makes
people,
sense we don't have a development plan for Mamma Mia's on file. We don't have a development plan of any kind for
Ivory
Farms.
Not yet.
Not yet. And honestly, there may not be ever, there may be tomorrow. We don't know that. They have the right to develop their private property just like anybody else does. But without their contribution and agreement to participate in this petition, you would really be absorbing that full cost of that pipe on your own. And we looked at those numbers, and I think our first numbers that we sent out to Patrick were something in the $35,000 range. It depending on which way you look at it, I guess, is, you may feel wronged by that, whether or not you want to see those properties get developed. But on the other side, they are allowing this to move forward by contributing. So
again, they're
2
contributing, how much, can you just refresh my memory now? How much is Ivory contributing and Mamma Mia's?
I believe both of those properties are currently assessed at 2 REUs.
Okay, so double what I'm gonna pay. I'm a 1 REU.
Yeah.
So 1245 times 2 was the estimate,
Yeah. In addition to that, you mentioned Grove Point Drive.
correct?
So Grove Point Drive is outside the boundaries of your association, crosses over Ivory Farms with no ingress or egress easement of any kind to get to the last few homes on the west side of Round Lake. So part of this is, I think they've probably been pretty kind to the folks in the neighborhood to allow that to continue to exist like that. Part of this is going to be to grant us easement for us to get that pipe through there to serve those homes. Our only other recourse, because we can't force them to do it, would be just to cut those homes loose off the off the assessment and make it smaller.
Okay.
I could also point out the fact that they are paying for 2 REUs, but in order to use that, unless they put homes right on the sewer line, they actually have to extend sewers into their property. They have to pay to bring sewers into their property to wherever they're taking it to. Then every home has to pay a tap fee that goes into that that's in those properties as well. So you're going to have a sewer right in front of your home. You don't have to do any extension of mains. Both of those properties have to extend mains, and so they're going to have thousands and thousands of additional dollars to even use the sewer that they're paying for, that they're helping to pay for now. So there's a little bit of equity there.
So nobody on Midway could, if Ivory decided to develop, and on Midway, they put 100-foot lots along there, this sewer line, those people couldn't tap into that? With us paying for the sewer line already, it would have been a done deal.
They've only paid for 2. for access to two, the administration then would determine what would be the fair additional value. It's called a lateral benefit charge for those that have not helped pay for the
Yes,
sewer.
exactly. That's it, right
There's an
there. Can you
additional
repeat that
charge
one?
that the
So they-
township ordinance requires.
Okay, so they haven't paid for the sewer
Any more than
we
two.
have,
That's correct.
but two. So we'd get a rebate back maybe, or?
No.
I mean,
Ultimately, this will
Typically, it doesn't
become,
work that way, but
but hey, I mean, that would only be fair since we're funding it.
I mean, the
So-
alternative is you wait till they develop their property before any of you can have sewer.
Right.
That really is
Now,
the
now this is a whole sidebar, but I live on Grove Point and there's the Chapel Dump, and Oakland County comes in every year and tests our wells down Grove Point. And if you know anything about PFAS and all the other contaminants that are around, that dump is not a Superfund, but it's on their radar, Oakland County, and they test our water. To me, that's a real concern. Sewers are a concern, but what we're drinking out of our tap is a real concern, and I don't see anything being done on that. That's just kind of, don't drink the water, I guess. So, I mean, water and sewer goes together. 2 or 3 people already said that.
no, if you don't like the cost of the sanitary, you definitely would not
Oh,
like
I
the cost
know,
of extended water.
Yeah, and water is down, because that's what Lakeland High School is tapping into right now.
Right.
Their water tower probably disappear. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Benjamin Kraft, 1332 Clearwater Boulevard. Just wanted to share a couple things. So I was one of the homeowners that was walking around all summer long, sharing information with Andrew and some other residents. I was very much in favor of bringing this to our neighborhood for a multitude of reasons. I tried to look at literally every single angle, no matter what your circumstance was, whether you're planning to sell your home eventually, whether you were planning to pass it on to your children, whether you just wanted to stay there, whether you had just put in a new system. No matter how I looked at it, you stood to benefit from it. So I want to share a couple of reasons why. First of all, how I got on this journey in the first place was I bought the home, 2 years ago now, first home, and we were expecting a baby at the time. So this is really where I planted my roots. And for those of you who, just to hammer home just how important this is for your home and for your property value, I was able to, at the height of the housing market, where I had just been outbid $35,000 over asking price. I put in a bid 35 over asking, got outbid. I come to this home, I put in a bid at asking price. I do the whole inspection. I wasn't desperate, for any home. So, I just told them, hey, I got the inspection. I'm like, I don't really want to deal with an engineered septic system in my near future. I'm going to walk, because I got a quote for what it would cost to put in an engineered system, and it was $50,000. And so right off the bat, I was able to take $50,000. They lowered the price $50K just off of that alone. There's another house for sale that was listed earlier this year for $500,000. It's come all the way down to $425,000. I talked to that guy because he was following up with me. What's the status of this thing? He signed it too. He's had 3 people walk so far after the septic inspection. So if you don't think that it affects you, it really does. So if you plan to sell your home in the future, this is going to not only enable you to sell it for more, but if your system fails, you're going to be able to sell for a lot more, because otherwise you're going to have to make some significant concessions. If you plan to keep it forever, think about your future generations and whoever you're going to pass it off to, because they're going to have to foot this bill as well. The cost of septic, like we said, $50K, just to hook up, to have the ability to hook up, or to have the pipe run through around $14,000, a little bit less than they quoted, like $12,000 something. And then, of course, there's the hookup fee, which averages around $18,000 to $22,000, last I heard. But you could finance both of those things. You cannot finance the $50K, at least not through the township. So that's also worth considering. So whether it's the environmental side of things, the lake, somebody posted, they did a independent, like a water test. I think they had a company come in and test the water, especially on the western side of the lake. There was some areas that I would not swim in. Like the E. coli levels were quite high, so I would not swim in those areas. And again, I have a daughter who's going to be swimming. You know, she's 1.5 now, so I'm thinking about it from that angle too. I hate taxes. I hate money. I hate spending money. I want to be as frugal as possible. Trust me, I would not be advocating for this if it meant any other thing. But like I said, every scenario I look at, whether I sell it or whether I keep it, sooner or later, like you're going to benefit from this. Last note, I would say it's great that Mamma Mia's and Ivory Farms finally signed on. My understanding is, that was the primary holdup here, why we didn't have this sooner, because we got the signatures like in July or September. I think we got them in September. And so, but as I understand it, there's a reason why they put a deadline on, they gave us the initial estimate, get the signatures, and they gave us a deadline. And they gave us that deadline because the costs are rising constantly with inflation and whatnot. And so the fact that it's been 6 months since then is already a concern, because after they approve this, they will pay for a formal quote. Once they have that formal quote, then we'll know. If that quote is greater than 10% of what they initially quoted us to bring it in, guess what? We're going to have to redo the whole process. And so every month, every week that we wait to get this done is a chance that the cost of labor, the cost of materials is going to go up, and we won't be able to do it again. So we really do, we do need to move on this as soon as possible. And last point, all the houses that we have in here, this is also a dream opportunity, because if we were to so much as remove any of these, the cost will go up significantly. It's only because we have Ivory Farm, Mamma Mia's, and 100 other parcels that we're even able to get it, have this insurance policy for $13,000 against that $50K doomsday scenario. If we just had 20 houses, or God forbid, if it was just you who, there have been homes, there have been people on this lake who have had to pay over $100,000 just to bring it to their home because they found themselves in an emergency and they didn't have the luxury of footing the bill as a group. So just wanted to include that.
I just want to add one thing onto what you said. You can pay $50,000 for your new private septic system, and it may fail again.
Yeah, Potter, I think, was telling me about a neighborhood that he went into with the special assessment district that had engineered systems that were just 10 years old that were failing, and that's the thing. Sewer, you pay it, it's maintained for a lifetime on your guys' bill, not on ours, right? The septic, you pay $50K, that's no guarantee that's gonna last. It could last 30 years, it could last 10 years, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. Anyone else? Hello.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
My name is Mary Luark. I'm 1476 Orchard Drive. And my question is, I've been hearing a lot about engineered fields, $50,000. What about, I live on a back lot. I don't live on Round Lake. I live on a back lot. So if my septic system fails right now, and I get a perk test and it passes, I don't have to get an engineered field. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so do the lake lots have to get engineered fields if they fail? The way it stands right now?
Currently, yes, the standard, Mr. Powell I'm gonna let Mr. Powell answer that.
Okay.
I know, he'll do it more eloquently. than
And
I
there's a misconception. The word engineered septic only means that the conditions are such that the health department can't or doesn't have the expertise to design the system. That's what we engineers do for them. So if they can't design it, then an engineer gets involved and designs it, and then they get to approve it. A back lot like you have, if you're, as the supervisor pointed out, if your groundwater is down below 6 feet, then you can put kind of a standard system in, and if it's sandy, then you can put a standard system in. That system today is ranging about $25,000 to $30,000 for a standard system. An engineered system means that the health department will not design it, so there has to be special things going on. You either have to raise it up, you have to enlarge it, you have to put a pretreatment system in, as the supervisor pointed out. Health department doesn't have the expertise to design that. That's why an engineer gets involved. And unfortunately, that typically means that the cost for installation goes up as well. But it doesn't mean that a standard system isn't going to cost you more than this whole project is going to be that you're going to pay for this whole project as well.
So, I put a system in, a regular system, 5 years ago, and it was $9,000. Now, our whole area is all sand. I mean, anybody that I know of that's put a system in, the perk test passes. So I just want to make sure that people aren't feeling like if your yard, if you're a back lot and you fail, that you have to put in a $50,000 or $60,000 engineered field. I want to make sure that people know this.
Yeah, as I'd mentioned earlier, it's on an individual basis, okay? And each individual parcel of land will have its own unique characteristics. You could have what appears to be a very high and dry lot. You could do a soil boring and have groundwater at 3.5 feet. You're gonna have an issue. So you need to have that clearance, and that's what is typically the case. However, having the sewer in place, the pipe, the main in place in front of your house allows you, as I'd mentioned, now you don't have to have an alternate rest second location for a septic field on your property. You could add on, you could build, there's all kind of things the door opens for you. And should you live there for the next 25 years and you maintain that system and it doesn't fail, you don't have to hook up, okay?
Right. Well, I was told that I'd be dead before it failed. Because it's a huge system now, a huge tank, so that's what they told me.
And your
So,
property value will still increase.
And your property value will
with that
still go
sewer
up.
main.
Right. Okay, well, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else at this time?
You want my name and address again?
Yes.
Okay.
You only get
For the
two
last
times-
time.
You only get two
I know.
times around, then you gotta
I
sit
got
down.
you, but just for the, my name's Andrew Palmer. I live with Stacy Palmer at 9534 Round Lake Boulevard. And just for the record, Bancroft and myself were the pioneers who really promoted the idea of this. And just for the record, we did give information of approximate costs. We did have a map that we passed out to the residents. So we did give as much literature as possible to each and every resident as far as what we knew. Our phone with Potter was off the hook all the time, making sure that we did not give any information that was not golden. We never said you must do anything to the public. We said everything was approximate. So I just want a record of that today. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It'll all pan out as this process goes along. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Gary Jones. I live at 9508 Round Lake Boulevard. I am the person Ben mentioned earlier who can't sell their house. I'm going to update that number from 3 to 5 different buyers who have walked away. 4 of them have not tested the septic. 1 has, it passed. However, your average building inspector with some of these lake septic systems are not standard, they're older, and so a building inspector just says, hey, I can't really test this, or it's beyond what code is now. Scares the buyer away. Over and over and over again. When you look at that whole cost of, keeping, and not being able to sell your house, that's very frustrating. There's hope, right? I was in the same situation as Ben when I purchased this property, came back, building inspector, and we had a septic inspector come through and say, hey, I don't know anything about the system. It might fail in a year, it might fail in 5 years. We've been living there for 8 years, have never had an issue, but I know at one point this thing's gonna go away. If we were staying there, sewer is super exciting. I was very, very thrilled to hear that, but also sad that I was moving away. So I think this is a really big benefit, and I think you say things, like you mentioned, hey, a realtor's gonna say it's worth more. It is worth more. I can attest to that, you guys, right now. I've dropped the price over and over and over again, and you get a lot of buyers who just aren't really willing to deal with it. So that's my horror story. I wanted to share it, and I really support this going forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Sorry you're having that frustration. Anyone else?
9508.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Oh, I'll get this gentleman here, then I will get to you, sir. Go ahead, come on up.
My name is John Schmidt. I live at 1245 Grove Point Drive. A lot of good information came out today. One thing that hasn't come up is these septic fields that are failing are ruining the lake. What we have on board tonight that you guys are going to decide is, this is step one. Are we going to continue on and look at the next step and then the next step before we get there? So I encourage you, let's go forward and let's check out more stuff. Let's figure out what's really going on here. And is it good for the residents? Is it good for the township? Is it good for our environment? So I ask you,
Thank you, sir.
let's move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Gentleman with the hood. I think you have a hood.
Hi, my name is Jeff Kubik. I live at 1346 Clearwater Boulevard. I moved in 8 years ago, and our septic was indicating it was failing, right? We've lived 8 years. It hasn't failed yet. But I want to say a few things. There's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt that goes around on this. First thing I'd like to say is I'm all for the assessment. The assessment will help us understand how much the actual costs are. It's not going to cost us money to get assessment, correct?
I'm sorry, what was the
It's not going to cost the people of the district, the SAD, the SAD, the cost to assess how much it's going to be and how much it's going to cost. That's correct, yes?
The township board will be taking action to approve an engineering plan to be developed, which will establish the cost of what, that will allow bids to be crafted. It's like a blueprint.
Right.
Once we have the blueprint drawn of the system, then we can take and have it bid. The thing about that system is, hopefully this goes through, and I'm hoping all of you see that the township is trying to, assist in this matter and be a catalyst for this. If for some reason the cost comes back in wacko world, we still will have a shovel-ready set of plans, because that will be a set of plans that will be good for the future. And the township is going to make the choice to, in that process, to absorb the cost. When these things are done, all of these costs are required to be rolled into the special assessment district. Administration, engineering, the cost of the system, the legal, all of the costs are rolled into the SAD. That's how those are done, okay? But to get it off the ground, the township kind of goes up, puts its neck out there a little bit, but we're not going to put it out there if we don't have the support for it. But we have on paper the support, and I'm getting a pretty good feeling here that people are thinking this is at least worth looking into and getting some education.
Lisa would like to comment on that question.
Yes,
too.
Counselor.
So you did indicate that those costs would be rolled into the overall costs of the project if the SAD moves forward.
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure that was said. If the SAD doesn't move forward, the township eats that cost.
Yes, it does. I said that too.
It doesn't have to, and I want to make that clear as well, because you can see it's not fair for the township taxes, that everybody else in the township to pay for engineering drawings that are specific to your job, that are always going to be there. Why should somebody a mile away pay for a sewer design in your area that 3 years from now you can reuse? So this board could say, okay, you're not going to pay the $12,000, but you might have $500 a home or $250 per home just for the drawings to sit there so that it could be bid out in the future. That's not for sure, but that's an opportunity. And I want to make sure that we put that before everyone so that the township doesn't have to eat that cost. If you people then say, no, we're not going to do it, well, then that's kind of your decision, but somebody has to pay for those engineering drawings that were done for your project.
Has that ever happened?
That's never happened in the township. It has happened in other
All right.
communities I've
So
represented.
The whole point was trying to eliminate fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I
I
feel like you kind of
understand.
added to that a little bit.
But I couldn't,
So,
I couldn't let
Never,
it.
it's not been the practice of this,
Yeah.
of the board,
Okay.
or the township to do that.
okay.
Right,
So
I
it's
just wanted to make sure.
possible.
He's an
but it's
engineer, he
never
can't
happened.
help himself.
Understand, I understand, right? Okay. Okay, the other thing I'd like to bring up is that a friend of mine who lives on our block, right? His field has failed and he can't get a new field. They won't engineer it. He's too close to the lake, he's too close to the canal. He can't put in a field anymore, right? He doesn't have any spots. He is in that situation where he has to either spend $100,000 to have somebody pull it to him and did all do himself, right? And I feel like that he would not be the only person in that situation. And I understand that the people in the back lots, right, they feel like they're carrying burdens that those who are not in the back lots are imposing upon them, right? And I get that. But this will, we need to think of the whole community and the people who can't, nobody can afford to spend $100,000, right? So I want to just go forward with that and think about how that affects our neighbors as well. I've heard a lot of talk about RV farms. RV farms, the people who work there are friends of mine, right? They will have a hookup that is only for their one house, right? So when we talk about they have so many residential units, well, they only have one house. They have to carry it from they will have to pull the sewer from the road all the way down up to that house, right? Just to be able to get it close enough to be able to work. But there's the people who live there, they only have one house. They shouldn't have to, just because they've got a bunch of land, doesn't mean they should have to pay extra because they just have more land, right? If they're only hooking up to one house, just like you're only hooking up to one house, they're still paying twice as much, right? So they could hook up to two houses. So I'd also like that, make that point, right? So other than that, I'm all for it. I'd really like to see it go forward, and I just want to indicate my support.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else? I'm going to wrap this up here. Okay.
My name's Colleen Schmidt, 1245 Grove Point Road. I just want to say thank you to the people of the township who have worked diligently with people from our subdivision who've worked hard on this. And I want to say thank you publicly to whoever it is at Ivory Farm that looked at this and signed on, because us on Grove Point Road need them or we'll be cut off. So all those other reasons that we've talked about, I agree with, and please go forward.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Kevin Perone. I live at 9645 Caprice and moved there about 3 years ago. I've pumped my septic tank twice since I've been there. Got a 1,000-gallon tank put in 2006. Called Oakland County to check everything out. Hate our water, drink bottled water, don't touch the tap water. I don't even give the water to my dog. You know what I mean? I've lived on a septic field my whole entire life. I've lived in Highland, I've lived in the UP. I've never had sewers. Never had a problem. So, and I know if you start opening up a can of worms, you might find more problems with that situation. So that insurance policy is what it is. It's an insurance policy. But my dad worked for Chrysler for forever, had a life insurance policy, and he wished he was dead because he never got to cash in on that huge life insurance policy. And obviously, septic fields are still a thing because you've engineered them your whole life, right?
Yep.
So I am against it wholeheartedly.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right.
Hi, my name is Charles Durrell. I live at 9360 Cooley Lake Road. And I'm as much conflicted with most of the people in this room when it comes to the cost of this project. I know that some of these houses have been around for a very long time. A lot of the residents have been here for a very long time. My grandfather actually built the house back in the probably early, and still getting there to this point. Septic has been lucky enough to hold up for me at this time, and I would benefit greatly from having a sewage system. But my one question would be that I'm familiar with water and sewage systems from other places I've stayed at. What would be the cost to, I would assume there would be probably a water bill that would come to us once we're finally pumping water into a sewage system. If we can have the information regarding to how much it costs per gallon or how much you process that water so that the residents, if this does go through, we have an idea of how much we'd be spending.
I believe it's billed quarterly, Mr. Potter?
$206 per quarter is the current sewer bill.
Okay. I just wanted to make that a point to any homeowner that now has to add an additional bill to their already existing bills. It's not to scare this project off, more information. And also to address Ms. Smith, who was questioning about Mamma Mia's lot. I live directly across from there. I talked to the owner a couple times who has plans for that lot. And actually, the sign that they had out there for quite some time about having sewage was completely false. I think it was misled under the idea that there was drains in the ground that they must have perceived to be sewage, but there is no sewage over there currently. So that's just to clear that question up right off the bat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else at this time? Okay, I will basically close the public comment at this time, and I will refer back to the board at this time. Mr. Powell?
Before any motions made, I just wanted to point out that you that are concerned about the lake, I was the engineer for the city of Novi back in the early 80s, in which we installed sanitary sewer around Walled Lake, the lake itself. Before the sewer was put in, you could actually see green algae growing out from the shoreline out in towards the middle of the lake. Since that time, the lake studies have shown, and if you take a look at the aerial, that algae now has disappeared because they end up with a nice, fairly sandy bottom. So it has greatly improved the lake of Walled Lake. I'm also the engineer for the village of Wolverine Lake, and the council there, in their wisdom, have installed sanitary sewers all the way around the lake itself. Because anyone that knows anything, if your septic system fails and you're a lakefront lot, where does that sewage go to? It goes right out to the lake, through the groundwater and right out to the lake. They are now setting records on how clean that lake is in Wolverine Lake. And so I also want to point out that if this board continues forward and has sanitary sewers put in, the ordinance does not require anyone to connect. As the supervisor said, if your septic system fails, then the health department will require it, and state law mandates that no septic system can be repaired if a sewer can be connected into. Or you could do it voluntarily. And so, and I'm one in favor of having a special assessment district to help people actually connect in as well, because that's just as important as getting the sewer in the ground. So anything we can do to initiate people to tie in, the cleaner your lake is going to be and the better off our groundwater is going to be. So that being said, I'm in typically full favor, even though I make a living in designing septic systems, I'm in full favor of extending sanitary sewers. It is just the right thing to do for our environment and for each and every home site. So thank you. I just wanted to make that statement.
Any other comments from the board?
No, I just want to thank everybody for coming. It was
Yeah,
nice
we
to hear
appreciate
from
it.
everybody.
Yeah. Like I say, most of the time, all we see is backs of chairs. So we do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Andrew
No,
Voorhees.
I'm in favor. I love Mike Powell's comments, because the same could be said about what I call at times Lime Lake, which the newer name is Pontiac Lake and Pontiac and White Lake. Sorry, that was in the same conditions. The water conditions were horrible.
Bring that up.
We not this boards years ago put septic in, and it's a
Sewer.
great lake now.
Sewer in.
Sewer, excuse me. Yeah, sewer. Sorry, sewer. And the lake conditions have improved tremendously.
There's been a significant improvement in the water quality there, but one real quick thing I want to let you know. Myself and Mr. Roman sit on the Round Lake board, okay, your lake board. And we just had the person who does the care and feeding for the lake, I'll say, your engineer, your lake engineer. And some of these problems are inherent to having septic systems that are leaching into the lake. They are leaching into the lake. So there are issues there that exist, and, we have to be aware of it. Public is closed.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it's closed.
I just wanted to say,
I closed it. Thank you. Okay? And at any rate, the matter of the fact is that if this is done, you can use Pontiac Lake as an example. There are oodles of people there that we talk to all the time that say, hey, I dropped my cell phone in the water 6 feet down and I could see it, okay? Not a good thing to do, but it's a true story. So it makes a huge difference, and ultimately, we are a groundwater community. So all the water in this community comes from the ground. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Can I-
Counselor?
I just want to comment so that everybody is aware that the resolution in front of you proposes the next public hearing date for the establishment of the resolution for April 16 at 6:30 PM. If you pass this resolution, that's going to be the date. I just wanted to highlight that date since there's so many people here.
True, but in the event that there's a delay in the engineering study or cost of a sort, we do have the right to reset that date at a date certain, once we know that information. We just tried to have this established so there's certain goals to try to meet these goals and keep this thing, the discovery of it, keep it moving forward so we know what we're looking at.
So that being said, Mr. Supervisor, based upon the input from most of the people tonight, and knowing that this does not establish the SAD, this is just the intent resolution, I move Resolution 24001 that this board tentatively declaring its intention to establish a special assessment district to be known as the Round Lake South/West Sewer Main.
I have motion, looking for support.
Support.
I have support from Mr. Ruggles. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Voorhees,
Yes.
Trustee Powell,
Yes.
Treasurer Roman,
Yes.
Supervisor Coal,
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Trustee Ruggles.
Yes.
Okay. It's not cast in stone, but we've taken the first step to go forward. We are available for questions. As the information comes out, you'll find out about it and you'll be notified. Our assessor, Mr. Heber, will make sure that you're notified via mail, so watch your postal, Could be there with that, what's that sweepstake thing? It could be the same one. But nonetheless, we thank you very, very much for attending tonight's meeting. We are going on with our regular course of business at this time. Thank you very much for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on our list is the first reading the amendment to the fee ordinance number 129 DPS. Mr. Potter.
Sorry. Struggling through this. So this is actually,
Mr. Potter, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
one moment.
call the meeting back to order, please? Everyone, please be seated. Thank you.
We don't own this little bow tie right here. So we're gonna release a clear title on that.
But you have an
We have an easement, but in order to.
Will.
Okay, gentlemen. Okay, we are now back in session. Are you good, Rob? Thank you. Mr. Potter, where were we?
Sorry about that, I was messing around.
That's
trying
all
to get to
right.
the
It got a little
speed ordinance.
noisy in here, so it was good to let everybody dismiss.
So Douglas Santiago, Deputy Clerk, brought to us a fee ordinance amendment. I kind of missed the boat on the last one because we were really prioritizing the water plant construction. Now that we're past the majority of that, I'm back on this. Only have a few changes in here. Page 1 of 8, you'll notice some changes in the water rates. These were basically the updated current rates that were approved in the fee ordinance amendment that, the rate study and fee ordinance amendment that I believe was February 2021, something like that. And then we have on page 4 stricken sections. These sections at the top were reflections of the Commerce Township fee ordinance that did not apply to White Lake Township. We also struck out the usage charge for the years that are past and left in this year and the next year. And then, again, the third section down here was a reflection of Commerce Township ordinance that does not apply to White Lake Township. And I'll answer any questions that you may have on that.
I wasn't aware we had a bouncer in the audience, so.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Officer
you.
Mary.
Sergeant of Arms, yes.
Sorry, I
Yeah,
missed all
it's
that.
a modest, very modest increase in the water rate, and the meter sizes are due to the rise of an cost of the meters. I mean,
I didn't understand, maybe Aaron can help me, the changes in red that are identified here, are they already in place that we did in 2001?
Correct.
Or are we making that change now?
No, they were already approved in 2021. That's just.
Okay.
Our rates go up on October 1st, 5% annually. Prior to 2021, they were going up 4% annually. We had a rate study that was part of the, I believe it was the DWRF project. And so this basically reflects the current rate as soon as I get back to it. Apologize about the difficulty I'm having keeping up with where we're at on this. I am filling in for Sean on all of this overhead stuff. I don't have all of his short links that he usually uses, so I'm working off the township website.
So the request is not the request, currently it's $57.24. I'm sorry, that was as of October 21, correct?
No, these would be the current rates that were effective October 1st, 2023.
2023.
So what you're seeing there, the timing of the last fee ordinance, we're actually 2 behind what you see in the blue there.
Yes. All right, and then I was going to comment, 2 comments. Number 1, should we change the date at the bottom of page 1? Because it says these water charges that you show there shall be increased 5% per year commencing in October 2021. It almost seems as though those charges that we show there in red need to be increased 5% for the last 3 years.
I saw that and I looked at it and what I was trying to do was reference that rate study.
Okay.
So I left that in there showing that these were not new fees, that these were already increasing 5% annually and have been for some time.
that was a result of the study that Tracy Act did.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, the last item that I just want to point out to the board, that the $57.24 per 1,100 cubic feet, they measure cubic feet to determine how much water a single-family home may use. In comparison, Commerce Township's at $81.75. But it's for 2,000 cubic feet instead of 1,100 cubic feet. So if you do the math, our fee in comparison to Commerce Township's is about $77.24 versus their $81.75. So we're comparable with Commerce Township, but eventually we're going to start catching up to them and passing them. And we should look at that carefully because,
Mike, I'm going to disagree with you there.
well, we can do the math if you want.
Yeah, I know, but you're talking about Gliwa here.
Well, we did a rate study, and when we did the rate study, we did a comparison with about 20 or so other townships and communities around us. Parts of Commerce Township were on the Great Lakes Water Authority system. Between the, all of these rate studies for every township are based on whatever their financial advisor comes up with, right? So when, for example, my house in the city of Flint, I paid a monthly bill, $50 flat rate service fee, just to have the service, and then whatever commodity charge on top of that per 100 cubic feet. So yes, ours is different, and it is a job trying to figure out a comparable rate. At that time when we did that study, we were the third lowest water rates of any that we studied in Oakland County. Only Waterford Township and Independence Township had lower rates than we did.
I remember
and they have
that
the
discussion.
economy of scale.
Right.
But it's not possible without doing the full study to go and say, well, we want, to say it equals this much cubic feet, or we need it to be, maybe 200 cubic feet for the unit other than 100 cubic feet, without going back in and doing the full analysis. And quite frankly, that's already been done. And what we're doing right now with this is just reflecting the current fee that was already approved.
Yeah, and all I was bringing up the fact that when I did the math, we're still less than the surrounding communities. That's the only reason I brought that up. Yeah. But it's a little bit deceiving because we're actually identifying it at a lower use
Right.
than
Well, our
the
volume
surrounding
is less
communities.
compared to
But
theirs.
that's all I wanted to point out, that we're still under the surrounding
Well,
communities.
I just want to make sure the persons understand that
Yep.
Gliwa is very expensive water, and it's about to get more expensive because they're dealing with a big non-pay bill from Highland Park.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Mr. Rose.
1,100
I'd like
cubic
to
feet
make a
is an odd
motion
number.
to move this fee ordinance amendment to second reading.
I have a motion to move to second reading. Look for support. Motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Can I make a quick
Yes,
comment?
Counselor.
And I mentioned it just yesterday, I think, to Aaron, but I think the Commerce White Lake Agreement is coming up due.
Yes, it is.
And just alert you that oftentimes there's a time limit by which you need to take action if you plan to.
Mr. Powell and I have attempted contact and
okay.
We've been trying to get a meeting with the Commerce Township people, and they keep putting us off, so.
Okay.
thank you, but we're aware of it. Resolution 24002 to approve wage increase for election workers. Mr. Clerk.
As you see before you, we had a constitutional change with Proposal 2 that was recently taken in by the electors. And if you look at your Exhibit A on the sheet that I prepared, or that our office prepared, you'll see what it is current now for precinct chair, all the way down to the election day setup. And we met with the White Lake Township Election Commission on January 11th, 2024. Oh, you can go to page 130.
130 has a second election wage schedule with the current and the proposed.
No, it's all right. So it was in 2019 when this was reviewed last time, about coming up on 5 years. So what we have before us is we have a statutory obligation, a constitutional obligation under this proposal if you look at one of the, in the interoffice memorandum, we're charged with the constitutional rights of all the electors. So the benefits are maintaining employees, retaining, having experienced election workers that want to keep coming back. The data that the county, if you look in here, or look at your sheets, was for 9 days early voting, we're at $18 an hour, averaging out through the county. And those were based on 2020 rates throughout the county. And that was through Oakland County. And we're teaming up for the 9-day person voting with Highland Township that I'd mentioned before also. So having that established throughout the county, we're able to, if let's say we don't have an election, Highland can utilize some of our election workers for the early 9 days person voting.
Could I ask the clerk a question, please?
Sure.
These are set prices per day.
Correct.
And if you take your assumption that we have about 100 temporary employees or temporary workers per election, that's approximately $5,000 per day because you're bumping everybody by over $50 a day. So that's an additional $5,000. How many days do all of these people work for an election, for, let's say, the presidential election?
You'll have 9 days in person voting, so you have a minimum of, I believe, 3 people per Highland Township and us when we combine that, when we start that. So that's going to be 9 days that we're going to be open. And then each one of these, from the precinct chair, that's a day. Electronic poll book worker, that's a day. Precinct inspector, that's a day. They have to come in for training. We left that as a flat fee of $25. Return with chair, that's a day. Now we do have one, I wouldn't call it full-time, but up to 32 hours. See, we have to stay under the hours, and I forget, I'd have to look it up. Oh, it's over 1,000 plus hours a year. Then we'd have to pay full-time benefits for that person that comes in to work, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, why we need them. And then we have a part-time, another person for that, which we haven't hired.
So help me understand then, if White Lake Township hires 100 additional staff for election, and it's going to increase, and it's actually a little higher than this, if it's going to increase our fees, to $5,000 a day increase, how many days is that increase going to be realized? Are we going to be spending $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 per election extra over and above what we spend now?
We're going to be, well, this is, if you add all these up, it's going to be, well, we're going to have four elections this year. We're going to have the February 27th. We're going to have the school district here on Bailey Schools is going to have election in May. We're going to have the August 6th primary, and then we're going to have the general election. So you're going to have 4 days.
February presidential.
4 days, but each.
Many of these fees are reimbursable, correct?
Oh,
So when a school, like for example, when Huron Bailey or any of the schools have an election,
Right.
we bill them everything.
okay, right.
So that they chose to have one in May, which is going to cost the taxpayers quite a bit of money. They could have it in February, and it
You're
wouldn't
paying
cost-
for
it
one or
wouldn't
the
work,
other, Mike.
Period.
Certainly, I just
And a lot of
wondered.
people don't know that.
And I understand that for that. So in an election that White Lake Township holds, let's just say the general election this coming up in November, it's $5,000 a day additional, over and above what their base rate is. So that's only $50. Some of these people are getting paid $250, $325 a day. So that's over and above what we're paying them now. And if they work for 3-4 days at each election?
No, that's going to be the in-person, not the 9-day in-person voting. So we'll be sharing that cost with, so if we were not with Highland Township, we'd be really getting the brunt of that because of this constitutional amendment.
So in reality, if we vote for this, we're actually increasing the clerk's line item by about $5,000 per election.
Correct.
Okay.
And we haven't done so since 2019.
Right, and I understand
And
that.
this law was election law came into effect in 1952. So this is over 72 years that this has been touched. This is a huge ordeal right now. And it is a strain. If you look through your packet, you'll see where the MMAC, touches base on enacted for attracting qualified professionals, professional accountability. That's why I put this with your packet, reducing turnover, upholding trust, effective management, public confidence.
You don't have to sell me on it. They work hard.
No. It averages out to about $9.52.
I just wanted to understand the financial obligation that we are undertaking if we approve this. That's all. Thank you.
And this was, again, we have a constitution duty to do, I spoke with Joe Rozelle and he said, there'll be other places, if you look, like Pontiac, for example, pays $350 for a chair.
Yeah.
So you're constitutionally obligated for an effective and speedy election. If you're not, we could be opening ourselves up to a lawsuit for violation of civil rights.
And I'm good. Thank you. You answered my question.
Mr. Roman.
I just want you to know, Mr. Clerk, I appreciate everything you're doing. I support these pay increases. I know how hard it must be to even find election workers.
Very hard.
And you are subject to so many new laws that have just so much complicated not only your job, but your ability to find people to do all this work with these early election laws, so.
I'd like to thank Andrea Voorhees, Trustee Voorhees, and Trustee Ruggles for sitting on the Election Commission. A lot of times we have these pretty quick meetings, but this one, we sat down and we had these as recommendations as a recommending board, but they have a lot of statutory duties and responsibilities with this. And these, we came up with these and we voted to bring it to the board.
Okay, thank you.
Let's just hope that the state doesn't next require you to drive to each house with a ballot for.
Yeah, good
for
point.
residents.
Okay,
No,
I'd
I
like
have
to
a
entertain a
comment.
motion.
I have a question. No, I just have a comment,
sorry.
sorry, yeah. As someone, I agree with you, I'm in favor of these also, as someone who's done, worked at the polls, at the election polls, we always say thank you for volunteering. It's a long day, but in ISA, we're not volunteering, we're getting paid. But we're, in a sense, we're not getting paid a lot. I just did it for the experience and I don't regret doing it. But yeah, there is absolutely a lot of responsibilities and it's a long day. And I was generally one of the youngest people at the election. So, and thank you for the comparables, Anthony. That was a big thing for me.
Yep.
I like seeing comparables.
Trustee Smith.
Thank you. Anthony, can you clarify the office QVF? So is that in addition to your election specialist, or you're paying your election specialist $25?
No, that's addition. That's bringing somebody in that we bring in for QVF training. So we vet that person. QVF is.
I know what it is, so
okay.
I'm just, can you explain, that's a whole nother person?
It's looking at QVF. Yeah, that's the person that we have been working almost full-time, I call it, but about 32 hours a week right now. Bringing them in. They're vetted to work on QVF along with the assistant.
So that's
But
all that person's gonna do?
well, they're doing multiple stuff, like checking, they're in the system, they're checking signatures, but we might have them do some other stuff within the office. Like today, we spent most of the day doing the paperwork.
So that will be a temporary part-time employee during
Temporary
election
part-time.
seasons?
Yeah.
Okay.
During election season. So we actually have two, but one's, you have to stay under, you have to look it up. Once Obamacare came in, under 1,000 and some odd hours, or you'd have to pay them full-time rate. You have to give them benefits and things like that. So we have to stay under that.
Okay.
And then finding somebody that has got the attention to detail, that's able to, this is sensitive information. We're looking at people's information. So we want to make sure that we have the right person in there that's, vetted. And it's kind of similar to the police department's lien when, they have to vet people that are able to walk back into the police department under Michigan State. Right, Chief? Chief Kelly?
It's different, but I know what you
For
mean.
lien?
I know what the
Yeah.
the comparable you're trying to make. Okay, thank you.
So this has been 5 years since, almost 5. And if anybody out there wants to work in election,
Mr. Ruggles this time, he'll do it.
Yeah, Andrea and I have been on the election commission for a number of years together, and our meetings used to be pretty quick and easy, and now they've gotten to be a little more time consuming. So we supported this. We thought that it was worthwhile for everybody that's contributing to the election to be paid adequately, try to attract some people that are qualified. So Anthony's got a lot to deal with, and this should help, hopefully.
and we do go into the high school, we go into Lakeland, and we try to recruit students. So the last gubernatorial election, we had over, right around 5, 6 high school and college kids. So it might have been about 7, I believe. And we're doing the same. So I have 5 high school kids that are getting ready to put in an application. So that's pretty exciting, getting
Yeah.
young people involved.
Okay.
I was gonna make a motion.
Make a motion, Mr. Roman.
But I don't have the resolution here. Does anyone have a resolution?
There's not a necessarily a resolution for this, just to adopt the wages that are put forward in Exhibit A.
Okay, motion to approve wage increase for election workers. How's that?
There you go.
Support.
Motion, support, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Chief Keller, we're talking crossing guards here now.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just after the holidays, the deputy supervisor approached me in reference to, we talked about pay raises for cadets and for crossing guards, and she requested that I put, if I was going to do a pay raise for the crossing guards, that I put it on this month's agenda. So here I am. We have 3 full-time crossing guards. We have 3 part-time crossing guards, and they make $16 apiece. We go through school year, so they will make $16 an hour every day. They work 2 hours. So 3 of them, they work a total of 6 hours. They make $16 apiece. And I'm here to request a $1 pay raise each year for the next 3 years through 2026. And just to give you some frame of reference, Waterford, they are the outlier. They make $13 an hour. Birmingham makes $40 an hour. And Dearborn Heights is 17, Farmington Hills is 20, Walled Lake is 21, South Lyon is 22, and Novi is 28. So we are within the parameters of the crossing guards.
Yeah, I don't think this is an unreasonable request at all. You want to talk about people that are volunteering their time. I used to be, when I was a young lad at one time, one of the guys, a safety boy, with the orange AAA strap across here. And we had 2 crossing guards, and for the amount of time they spent to get there, stand in all kind of weather and everything else for a few hours a day and deal with a bunch of kids and all the other, and parents, et cetera, I don't think that's a very modest increase. And I support it.
I have a question. I was wondering why you want to do it over 3 years? You don't want to give them the whole $3 now?
We absolutely can. I made a suggestion of a pay increase over 3 years last time, and you guys just moved it up to the full pay, which I am okay with as well.
I'd be in support of just
Yeah.
doing the $3 now.
I'd be in support of that, too.
Okay.
Comments from the board members? Mr. Powell.
I didn't understand after the incredible presentation that the clerk made as to the hard work it is and to deal with the elections. I would be in favor of starting at $20 an hour today and increasing maybe $1 each year thereafter. This is kind of an insult to me, and I wanted to bring it to the board's attention that I think this is too low. I just do.
I always go low, and if you guys want to go high, I'm okay with it.
You want another car too, Chief?
Yes, please.
What is, I've got a question. What is Walled Lake, 21?
They're at 21, yes.
That's where I'd start.
I'd start at
No,
21.
I think it should be.
Well, and the flip side to it is if communities that don't have crossing guards, it's a full-time police officer out there doing it.
Much more expensive.
Much more expensive,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's start with the 19. Let's just bring them right to the 2024 raise. Or 26, excuse me.
Why don't you put that
Yeah,
in
that's
the
what we're
motion?
talking about.
Make a
Yes,
motion
go
to.
make a motion.
Well, I think Paul wants 20.
20 is where I'd like to be.
I would do it 26.
I,
Do it to the, put it.
dollar amount
The,
or?
no,
The
the
year
2026 amount,
Oh, which is 19.
the 19.
Which
You
is
want
19. I would start at 19.
Yes.
And I would escalate $1 a year over the
I'm
next
good with
3
that.
years.
Yep.
That would be my proposal.
Yep.
Oh, so you're up in the ante again.
No, again, it's a thankless job in a lot of ways. It's hard to get people. The people we have, we want to retain. If you look at the overall scope of things, this is not a huge line item in our budget. We don't have to have an officer off patrol and dealing with it. It just makes common sense.
I would be for being competitive with Walled Lake and starting off at 21 because they're.
I agree. I'm not trying to take it, but I think that Andrea's thought process, I'd go 19 and $1 a year. It gives them something to look for over the next 3 years.
So if I vote no, it'll be because I think it should be higher.
Make a motion then.
Make a motion.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Mr. Supervisor, I move that we approve the wage increase for crossing guards to start today, January 1st, 2024, at $21 per hour, and increase that wage $1 per hour for each year up to 2026.
I'll support that motion. Roll call vote.
Supervisor Kola.
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Trustee Voorhees.
No.
Trustee Powell.
Yes.
Treasurer Roman.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Trustee Ruggles.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you for bringing that deficiency to this.
That was awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Have a good night.
Thank you. Request to authorize investigation and litigation of necessary regarding vacant property adjacent to suburban Knowles Well House property parcel number 1223178-023, more formally known as the bow tie.
What's the number, parcel number, that's identified in the agenda? What does that represent? I'll tell you what it represents. It
I don't-
represents the parcel across the street.
Yeah, so when the agenda was getting put together, Trish sent me language and said, what do you think of this language? I said, I think we need to identify the property. She asked me for the parcel ID, but I was not in the office. And so she looked through the paperwork and pulled out the parcel ID and told me she located it. So if it's incorrect, I'll take the blame because she did it.
So my question was going to be, why the heck are we buying a full piece of property across the street? And so,
She'd asked me for the parcel ID. I wasn't in the office. I couldn't help her at the time when she was putting together the agenda. So she found the parcel ID somewhere.
That's 028, Mike.
no, that's 023.
No, that's 028.
Take a look at,
It's 028 across the road.
where's 023?
I don't see 023 anywhere.
23 should be that one.
023, I believe.
21, 22, 23.
So she did put the right one. and you
Oh,
just
I
had
was
me-
wrong, so I
you just had me
apologize.
blame Trish for a mistake?
Correct.
I stand
Sorry, Trish.
corrected.
On this.
Let the record show.
Yes, please.
Let the record show.
Permanent record show.
Mr. Powell made an error.
Yes, amen.
I don't see it on this.
My wife tells me that hourly, so I'm fine.
It's not on that map. It's
No.
too
It
small
says
to
right
fit
here,
on.
right?
So what is the reason that we need
So the
to
023, that's right.
pursue this?
Easement.
Don't we own an easement over that property, over that bow tie
In
already?
order to sell the property, market the property, I am sure, as we are sitting here, that the title company will run a big red flag up and say, you don't own it, we won't write a policy on it. I am having some experience of some different things, and I will tell you that title companies have gotten much more particular in the last few years. So getting whatever necessary title and/or quiet title to it, I think would be an appropriate step.
Have we already taken action to obtain access through that parcel?
We have easement.
We have access. How do we have access to it?
Easement.
An easement.
So you're saying we cannot use that easement to access this property if we sell that property? Is that what you're telling
I
me?
think there's some question as to whether or not it'll be accepted in a transaction for title work. So I think for the safety of the sale and the confidence of the sale and to relinquish any doubt in anyone's mind, that the township just pursue that and be done with it.
So are we going to give an open-ended, are we going to spend $10,000 in attorney? You say no. Are we going to spend $10,000 in obtaining a warranty deed on this piece of property?
We don't know the answer to that, and that's why we put investigate and authorize if necessary, because we still don't know, we've not reached out to the named owner. I understand that that company is defunct, but we haven't verified that. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
So how can we safeguard, how can this township board safeguard the knowledge of how much we're going to spend on obtaining this over and above the easement we already have?
I can't answer that question. I rely on the integrity of our attorney.
All right, then why don't we make it subject to it coming back next month with an actual estimated fee then?
So what I can tell you is, if in fact it's quiet title, we did that with Suburban Knolls. We had to go through the process. There's statutory requirements on what needs to be done, publication requirements. All that was done for Suburban Knolls. So we can pull out the bills for what we spent on that and give you an idea if that's what you're interested in. But it's hard to say with litigation how much it's going to cost because you don't know what resistance you're going to meet. You don't know.
Why don't we put it on the market and find out if a title company causes the problem before we authorize an unlimited budget for our attorney?
We're not authorizing an unlimited budget.
Then suggest what we are going to authorize.
Let's take a look at the bills that we paid to get the title for the other parcel. Investigate that.
And then bring it back to the board?
You know, well, I would say if it's the same, which it was, if I remember, it was like $3,000 or $4,000 or something like that.
But was there other issues?
Was it like $5,000?
I think it was more than that. I don't recall though.
I don't have the numbers. I'd have to get that from Elaine.
It wasn't off the charts. I look at the bills every month.
Instead of speculating that some title company may put a burden on us, why don't we find out?
Can I ask a question? So even if we have an easement, my question is, if someone buys this lot, this big lot, can they put a driveway on that?
There is a driveway already. That's what an easement's for.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's concrete, if it's blacktop.
So the easement was to access the well house. That was the purpose of the easement, to access the property in the well house, because we had a well house on that property.
Okay.
You'd have to look at the width of the easement to determine what can be done. But again, I haven't done that investigation.
The easement says it's 60 feet wide.
Okay, so
And
enough
we
for a
certainly don't need something 60 feet wide either.
It has an asphalt driveway on it currently.
It does.
Maybe not necessarily follow the procedure. but
Aaron
I think
indicates that
is
it has a
60 feet.
driveway
There's a
on
photo
it.
on
It
the,
does have a driveway.
that's the aerial photo right there. That's asphalt for this section.
As much as I love Lisa, I don't like just opening her checkbook to the
Oh, I
township from
understand.
the township, that's all. When we've been accessing it for 50 years. So,
He's not being sarcastic either.
No, I
As
mean,
much as
we
he
have
likes-
access.
As much
it
as
for
he
50
likes
years.
Lisa.
But,
yeah.
but okay, I mean, I don't care. I just want to get it done and move on. I don't
Yeah,
want to
we want to
bring it back
sell
and
this-
waste time.
We want to
Sure.
sell this lot, and so do you want to suggest a motion, Mike, or what are you thinking?
I think we ought to put it on the
So let her
market
do the
and find out what a title company, whether a title company will flag it as a problem.
We'll find out whether or not a realtor will even list it if it doesn't have that, if it doesn't set
A
properly.
realtor will list anything.
If I can suggest to postpone this matter just so that I can do the homework, figure out what course of action is necessary, and then you can.
That would be great.
I make a motion to postpone till date certain.
Support.
Motion support, all in favor?
Aye.
Done. Moving
Thank you,
on.
Mr. Supervisor.
Okay, I'm not in opposition at all. I just want to move it on. I've got this guy next door to me beating on the wall when I'm trying to do something, telling me sell.
That's what that knocking
I
is,
need
eh?
money to build a township hall. Okay. Mr. Roman, Civic Center Committee
yes.
update.
I wasn't at the last meeting, Rick. Why don't I let you do the update?
I will let Michael do the update. He was there.
I was not there, so.
All right, so the rest of the board might know that we've had a couple meetings over the last couple, 3 weeks to review the DPS building, a page turn. We actually went page by page and evaluated all the items that are in the construction drawings and what a contractor is going to bid on. We've made some changes. One of the biggest changes that we gave direction to the architect for is that there was a large area of the exercise room in the lower floor of the DPS building that was designed or were going to be designed to be a
Storm shelter.
a federally recognized storm shelter, which means everything short of an atomic bomb blast, this area of the building was going to remain standing. And it was estimated that it was going to cost about $200,000 just to provide that protection in that area. The engineers and the architects we talked to seemed to think that this building is stronger than any other building that is going to be built. And unless it was something extraordinary, we didn't need a bomb shelter of that type quality. Therefore, the committee recommended that that be removed. Maybe we even dictated that it be removed.
I think we dictated.
I think we dictated it, yes. So that was about a $200,000 savings just in that one building and that one issue. We also went through all the materials around the building. We gave our recommendation for the choice of brick, and you guys were involved in that. We were challenged again as to by the young architect who challenged that decision. We held firm, the committee held firm, and just changed the brick color a little bit at the representation that we didn't want it to look like a concrete basement wall all the way around the building. We wanted it to be a classier type split-faced block, but we did not go back and change it the way she wanted, which was a cultured stone look all the way around the building. So we held firm to that. Otherwise, we gave them the go-ahead to finish their drawings so that we can go out for bids on that. Yes, Mr. Supervisor?
Two other things. There was something that bothered Mike and I from a structural standpoint, and neither one of us could quite put our finger out and touch, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and touch it, but we knew something wasn't right. And Tefra kind of read our minds because she went back and restructured the roof line so that there'd be better watershed off of the public safety building. And the small change that she made a huge difference in the visualization of the building. And the design went from, yeah, look, this looks nice, to now it looks great, okay? And it was just a simple change of a few roof lines.
Describe it, the hip design.
The hip roof came in, and then there was another technical design where the clock tower is. There was a shed roof that was required for the stairwell to get up to the hose tower. I suggested we cant that back as another hip. That was done. I thought I had my drawing, but I don't.
That's all right.
But I'll make sure we do. And it just, the subtle things that were done made a significant change and improved the design of the building. And it was like, wow, that's what it is. That was that missing little caveat, a small detail that made a difference to make it look right.
Right.
That was huge.
Then we made another suggestion that they investigate the use of a split-faced rock individual unit retaining wall instead of an architectural retaining wall going between the DPS building and the Township Hall building. That was estimated at well over $250,000 to put that wall in the way they had it designed. And so they're looking to make some modifications and possibly even tier that wall so that we don't have to build a 9-foot wall with 12-foot wide foundations in the ground.
2 foot thick.
2 foot thick, that's correct. And so hopefully they bring that back at a much less cost. Our township hall, we just, every time we see it, we get more excited of the looks. And you all saw the look of that building, and we've narrowed down some direction to further fine tune that. We gave those directions to the architect so that he can get started. He can finish up the construction drawings. He's behind the DPS building so that we can get the bids out and we can get that building under construction this year. So that'll be coming back. I think supervisor's going to set up a special meeting once the architects finish the buildings so that we can have a presentation to this whole board as to the colors and the look and the layout. Supervisor and the in-house staff made some changes to the some of the interior walls in the lower level of the township hall that are going to greatly enhance the usability and the flexibility of that lower level. We've created some overhangs to allow for the doors to be covered, the doorways and the entranceways to be covered to allow for them to be clean of snow without having to have somebody out there shoveling as it snows. We've also, there was one other thing that I wanted
We gave the engineer direction for a snow melt system at the front aprons and lower apron at the doors because we already have a hot water system in place. So we'll look at that as an option so that that area doesn't have to be plowed. And like right now, if you were to walk out there, it would be dry because those things work really, really well.
So that being said, we're very close to bring this before the rest of you to solidify the final look and the colors, and it's really going to be an outstanding buildings for the township.
They're both going to look really great.
That being said, we've also asked and we authorized the clearing of the site here in the next couple months. We also authorized the early bidding of the site work, which means the regrading of that site and the moving of the earth, creating the building pads so that as soon as the building is bid out, the site will be prepped, ready for the foundations to go in. So we've sped that process up as well.
We have a shovel date for land balancing to start on or about May 2nd. We also have the road contract is out for bid right now. Mr. Lufkin, add anything to that?
The plans for the road rehab are going to be, bids are due February 7th. We have a pre-bid meeting in this room tomorrow afternoon. Looks like quite a bit of interest from bidders so far. Cool. The other project, Triangle Trail, is also out for bid. We had a pre-bid meeting today in conjunction with the park improvement project. Quite a bit of interest on the park project and then a little bit of overlap on the pathway project.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I probably should have had you do that.
No worries. And then both of those projects will be coming to the township board for the February 20th board meeting. We'll have recommendations in ahead of that meeting, so.
Okay. All right, very good. So we are moving forward.
Any questions?
Any questions?
So according to the last lead time sheet that I saw McCarthy Smith put together, they were looking at us going out to bid either May or June for these buildings. Does that seem still obtainable, you guys?
Thought they were going out for bids in July, is what I was
I think
thinking.
it's June or July.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's a value engineering period that things might need to be looked at.
They've got bid award, they've got May and June.
Yeah.
And you're thinking that's not gonna happen.
I'm thinking it's going to be a
More like
little
July.
bit later than that, but
Good.
We're going to know more in the next week or two.
Correct.
See how a lot of this stuff comes together. I think we're in pretty good shape.
Rick, was there any discussion about some of the items with the long lead times?
We did not discuss those. The group that specific, the engineering, such as the folks, the electrical engineering, and the mechanical engineer were not present at that meeting. They will be at the next meeting. So that kind of takes care of that. Okay, anything else? Any other questions on that matter? Okay, moving on to trustee comments. Trustee Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I will be pretty quick tonight. So I just wanted to mention a couple of things. The library is having a fun, the Friends of the Library is asking for artists to consider offering their artwork for the foyer. And it's going to be, I don't know if it's exactly a contest, but they're calling for artists to come and they're looking for artwork to exhibit in their foyer. So if you're interested in that, please contact the Friends of the Library. The information's on the website and on their Facebook. And then I wanted to mention a couple things that the fire department and the police department are doing. The fire department they have been supporting and working with Walk for the Red, which if you remember in the fall is the fireman Joe Warren that comes and walks M59 and he walks the 140 miles, I think, is it right?
Something like that,
Across the state to raise money for cancer for firefighters. And the White Lake Township firefighter team will be at Walmart and Home Depot this Saturday, January 20th, and Sunday, the 21st, from 10 to 3, collecting for that cause. And I really encourage you to support that. This is, January is Cancer Awareness Month for firefighters. And it's a wonderful organization that really does give and help and support family members and firefighters that have cancer. That is the #1 professional cause for firefighters, unfortunately, is cancer. And then the police department is supporting every year, as they normally do, the Special Olympics Polar Plunge, and that's Saturday, February 3rd at Walled Lake at the Tiki Bar. And the White Lake Township Police Department has a team that you can pledge to or donate, or you can go out and cheer for them. They're crazy to plunge into the cold, but I'm sure they would appreciate your support in any way that you can. So Happy New Year. I want to thank the residents for coming. It was nice to hear from you. And please stay warm. This is the time to really be a good neighbor and make sure that you're checking on their elderly, your next door neighbor, pets are inside. The wind chill's gonna be very cold tonight. So everybody please stay safe and make sure you're being a good neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrea?
Thank you. Earlier tonight, we continued some appointments and we started a new appointment for the Planning Commission. So Robert and Debbie are returning members, and I'd like to welcome Mona, a new resident, or in a sense, a resident that's willing to volunteer her time to be part of the Planning Commission. So welcome, Mona. And exactly what Liz said. In the summertime, we say check on your friends and neighbors. In the wintertime, we have to do the same thing. Volunteer to do their sidewalks, their driveway, check on them in the wintertime and in the summertime. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Powell?
I wanted to remind the board that it's still my desire to assist the people that want to establish special assessment districts. You had a testimony from a couple people who walked this area for months to get signatures on a petition to get it over that 51%. But you still have the intention meeting that we had tonight. You still have the SAD public hearing. You still have the roll call meeting. You still have all the laws that have to be pertained. But this board can prevent somebody from having to do that on an SAD process by having the township board initiate the SAD. And that's as though somebody went out and spent months getting signatures. Everything else has to be the same, but you've taken that burden away from a resident here in the township from having to do that. So I'm still in favor of presenting that to the board sometime in the future as to how we might do that. I want to remind this board that, and I see Mike's in the audience here, but I'm in favor of this SAD of saving as much money as we can to the residents. And I'm in favor, and I will even spend the money to put together the bid specs if necessary, to go out for bids for engineering services for this big project. They've got a couple $100,000 bill being proposed to this township for that sanitary sewer, and that's just the engineering. And I think we could probably cut that in half if we go out for bids for that. And so I'm looking to have the engineering bid out for that sanitary sewer project. one other point.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Mike.
Yes.
When's our next sewer committee meeting?
I do not know the answer to that, but that'd be a great time to discuss that.
We'll follow up on that
That'd be
tomorrow.
great, thank you. There's something that I personally would really, it would really help me out, and I'm desirous of, and that's if the township, and hopefully we can afford it, to get nameplates for our employees to place on their desk or on the corner of their desks. Because I got to tell you, maybe it's because I'm old, and I am, but when I'm going into somebody's office and I say, hey, you, and there's a wonderful person behind the desk, and I don't remember their names, because every office has a different person. If the township could put their names on the corner of their desks, it would really make it more personable if I could come in and say, hey, Jim, how are you? They might even think that I care if I call them by name, all right? And I do. So please, if we could afford that, and if the township needs me to write a check to make that happen, tell me. I will do that.
$6,342.77.
I don't think so. But I think it would be great for the public to be able to know who they're talking to when they walk into an office. Other than that, I want to thank everyone that showed up today. It was great seeing the residents come, and even if they didn't agree with us, it was just wonderful to have people talk to us and tell us how they feel. And Happy New Year. This could be it's going to be a very annoying year with all the political campaigns going on, but we just need to show our patience and put up with it, and hopefully God continues to bless this country. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Roman.
Thanks, Rick. I just want to talk a little bit about our Parks and Rec Department and kind of what we want to do and what our residents want. It seems like all the studies we've had, our residents keep coming back saying they want more pathways. And I think we all agree we need to give them more pathways. Question is how do you fund it all? Well, we've got a millage that I believe is expiring this winter for Parks and Rec. And I'm kind of against trying to go to the voters for an increase. I personally kind of like the idea of a renewal. And I think the Parks and Rec Committee, they wanted an increase because they want to do more, and that's great. And I just want to plant a seed in all of our minds. We could bond out for a whole bunch of money to do all these projects. It would fight in future inflation. We could get the money now and then use our current Parks and Rec fund balance and even a renewed millage, to help service that debt. So I just wanted to put that idea out there. I think bonding out might be the right way to go for.
I think what you're going to need to do, Mike, is you need to put that on a spreadsheet. And people are going to have to take a look at it because you and I have different opinions on that.
So we postponed that last month.
That's why I did it under my discussion.
Forward to that coming back, some information.
Yeah, that was the millage. Mike is referring to bonding out. That's not the millage. He's referring to bonding out.
But in general, we all need more information on it.
Correct.
Yeah, so I'm just planting a seed.
Yeah.
Keep open the idea of bonding out to bring some money in to do more Parks and Rec projects.
When are we
Because
gonna-
if you wait and wait and wait for that millage money to come in, the price of everything just keeps skyrocketing.
Yeah, good point.
So what you're saying is just renewal, recapture, and then additional bond then?
Well, possibly.
Possibly, yeah.
That's what I read.
When are we going to revisit the millage language?
Next month.
Next month.
You good?
I'm done.
Okay, good. Anthony.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just like to thank our team in the clerk's office. Everybody's working a lot of hours over the weekend, long weekend that we had. We had Martin Luther King Day off. I appreciate everybody that's stepping up to the plate and making it a success. And I'd like to thank the staff in general around the township and police and fire, and congratulate Chief Holland on his prestigious award. Congratulations.
Mr. Ruggles.
Thanks. The Planning Commission's been quiet. We had a meeting on the December 21st that was canceled. January 4th was canceled. January 18th has been canceled. Our next meeting's February 1st. And so it looks like there'll be an agenda for that date.
Well, typically this time of year it gets a little
quiet.
A little soft.
And as Andrea mentioned, we've got some planning commission appointments from yourself. I've been on the board with Rob Seeley, does a great job. He'll be back for 3 years. Debbie DeHart, 3 more years, and a new appointment, which I have not met, Mona Savick, is that correct? So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, again, thanks everybody for being here tonight. We certainly appreciate it. Good, bad, or indifferent, your opinion does matter, okay? It was great to see the crowd come in to look for information and understand it. And I have often felt that people feel that when you're dealing with government, there's a lack of trust or transparency. Government is a very slow process. Sometimes there can be an obvious issue or problem, but it's extremely difficult and convoluted to try to figure out all the ways to make the pieces of the puzzle come together. And something can't just be as simple as, well, just direct them to do this. Doesn't work that way. It has to go to legal, then from legal, it has to go to policy, from policy, it has to go to a committee. From committee, it has to go to a subcommittee studies it, refers it back to committee refers it back to subcommittee to check something, and the circle just keeps going round and round and round. So we get a lot of things done here as quickly as we can, and as timely as we can, and I'd like to thank the board personally for all their help over the last 4 years in particular, and I hope that everybody will be in place to run this township for the foreseeable future. I had a WOTA meeting this morning, and it was really nice. We had, again, we often have chairbacks that we look at that meeting, other than the WOTA board. And there was 2 elderly women that came in their little walkers, and they sat down in the front, and we all kind of looked at each other and went, wow, we got public today. We're gonna have to behave. And at public comment, one of the women got up there and she started to, she wanted to thank us. She said her life has changed completely since WOTA came to Holly. They had a transportation program up there that was completely inadequate, and now WOTA is expanded into Holly. And she said it made such a difference in her life. She can do things when she wants to do them, shop at the store she wants to shop at, go when she wants to go, meet her girlfriends, and she actually started crying. And it was really an emotional moment for all the board members. And it was like, wow, you know, we've actually made a huge difference in people's lives. So there are a lot of things that are planned for WOTA in the next year. Just to give you an idea, from 22 to 23, rides are up 54%.
Wow.
Okay? We are ordering new vehicles. We just ordered 4 cutaway vans that will have the capacity to carry up to 4 wheelchairs simultaneously. The seats pop up in the back, so you can carry 12 passengers or 6 and 4, I think, wheelchairs. Cool. So we're ordering 4 of those. We approved that this morning. We also approved a mechanic chase vehicle, of which we did not have. It's a little tough throwing all your mechanics tools in the back of a minivan and going out to fix something on the road. So we actually are acquiring a truck. That money is coming out of our capital expenditure fund, which in turn, we will be going back to Oakland County to get some more of our tax dollars back. Okay, so that money will come forward. There's a lot of things going on as far as the potential expansion to the general population. There's currently a pilot program that just started January 1 for Highland Township. The general pop, you want to ride? Call WOTA. So we're going to watch that program as it unfolds, and eventually there will be a rollout of some sort. The difficulty is the same problem you have, the same problem you have, the same problem that you have and I have, is trying to find qualified people. We need drivers that love to deal with people. They have to love to interact with the public. If they're going to be a grumpy driver, we don't want you. No grumpies allowed, okay? You got to come in there and realize what you're doing. You can make a few bucks, pretty decent, and you can service your community. We have a former Russ is, one of our firefighters is now a water driver, okay?
Yeah, I saw him out and about.
Yeah, and I said, well, what do you think of it? I love it. You know, he loves it. Gives him a purpose, it gives him an opportunity. He knows, he meets a lot, he sees people in the public that has seen, so he has some, I maybe haven't seen him in 6 months, so-and-so, and it just gets out and about, and he stops by the hall, things of that nature. We are going to see some increased buses here. We're going to see 3 more buses being placed here. I have to work out a few logistics down here to make sure that we're good. We've got room in the park. We'll make sure that works because the fleet is increasing. And yes, sir.
Just a WODA question, Rick. Are there any outside forces that are pressuring WODA to convert any or all their fleet to electric vehicles?
No, I think that it's been talked about, but no one's come to me or the board and put a presentation or anything before us. And there's been some very interesting things happening in the last week, 10 days. Hertz Rental Car is selling off 30% of their electric vehicles.
Oh, there's a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not
because it's, draw your own conclusion. So that is a product that'll be market-driven. I ultimately see us having some sort of electric vehicle because of our close connection with Oakland County and the image that Oakland County is going to want to portray. Where that will end, I don't know. Smart is in the process now of, as I've been told, finalizing their route expansion to M59 to run into White Lake. There's going to be some conversation as to the who, where, what, when, and why. And unfortunately, one would think that irregardless of the fact that I sit on the WODA board, that they would have approached White Lake Township and said, hey, we want to partner up with you. Where do we want to put these stops? I have heard crickets, and I hope you're watching. Crickets, okay? Nothing, okay? So somebody needs to call me. And we need to have a conversation with our community development director and myself in regards to these proposed routes, the route in our area. Other than that, I certainly appreciate again everyone here. I wish everyone a very, very happy new year. And we've got a lot of work to do this year, folks. So thanks for all your efforts. And with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
I have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.
Awesome.